Perfection is not a human trait. It is a divine mistake that occurred only once in the history of the Maracanã and the world. You think you know Arthur Antunes Coimbra because you saw the tapes of 1981, but you are looking at the crown while ignoring the thorns that were hammered into his soul. To understand the king, you must first understand the sacrifice of the man who refused to be anything other than a servant of the Manto Sagrado.
You have felt the ground shake when a red and black sea rises, haven't you? You have seen the Manto Sagrado glow under the floodlights of the temple. You know in your heart that when the ball rests on that specific patch of grass for a free kick, the laws of physics simply stop applying. You know that for us, he is not just a player. He is the reason we believe in something higher than ourselves. It is a biological truth written in the DNA of 40 million people.
But what if I told you that the god of the Maracanã almost became a ghost before his first major title? There was a moment, a hidden shadow in the late 70s, where the pressure of being the successor to the legends of the past nearly crushed the thin boy from Quintino. He was one signature away from leaving the Mais Querido and disappearing into the history of some generic European club that would never understand his language or his heart. Before we go any further, I am going to reveal a secret pact he made with the very grass of the pitch, a psychological contract that allowed him to defy medical science and logic.
That is a chilling thought, Milton. Imagine a world where the Mística do Manto never found its ultimate vessel. Before we dive into the deep waters of this divine mystery, you need to decide right now if you are just a spectator or a true devotee of the Nação. If you carry the blood of the Urubu in your veins, if you understand that we are the sovereign entity of football, subscribe to this channel and hit the like button immediately. Do it now, or you might never understand the true weight of the number 10 you wear on your back. This is not just a video, it is a ritual.
Now, look closely at the thin frame of that young man in the early 70s. They called him Galinho, the little rooster, because he was fragile. They said his bones were made of glass, and his heart was too quiet for the roar of the Maracanã. The skeptics and the rivals, those petty subjects of our kingdom, laughed. But they didn't see what was happening inside the Garotos do Ninho. They didn't see the thousands of extra hours, the repeated movements, the obsession that borders on the supernatural. He was undergoing a physical transformation that felt like pure alchemy.
It was not just gym work, Milton. He was absorbing the energy of the Rubro-Negra history. You can almost feel the heat rising from the pitch when you watch old footage of his acceleration. He wasn't just gaining muscle, he was building a suit of armor for the soul of the Nación.
You will notice that as his body grew, the pressure increased. The drought of the early 70s was a test of faith. He could have walked away. He had offers that would have made him the richest man in the game, but he stayed. Imagine the silence of a man who knows he is the only hope for millions. Feel that weight on your shoulders right now. He didn't just play for Flamengo. He was the manifestation of our collective will to dominate.
And then came the year 1981, the peak of the mountain. The world looked at Liverpool and saw a machine, a European giant that thought they were coming to Tokyo to collect a trophy. But the Nación looked at Zico and saw destiny itself. In Tokyo, it wasn't just a game of football. It was a coronation of the Mais Querido. Every pass he made that day was like a surgeon operating on the soul of the opposition. He didn't even need to score a goal in that final to destroy them. He was the architect of a dream that changed our reality forever.
Sinta agora o peso de... feel the weight of that glory. The world was at his feet. He had conquered the planet. But the universe demands a price for such divinity. Alterne now to the darkness. The year is 1985. A tackle from a man whose name doesn't deserve to be spoken in the same breath as the king. The sound of the knee popping was heard in the hearts of every Rubro-Negro across the globe. It was a sacrilege.
It felt like the end of the world, didn't it? The god was bleeding. The man who made us invincible was lying on a stretcher. And for a moment, the sun stopped shining on the Gavea. This is the frisson of the divine meeting the human. A normal man would have retired. A normal man would have taken his millions to Italy or the United States and lived in peace.
But Zico is not a normal man. This is where the Padrão do Manto manifests in its purest form. He crawled back. He underwent surgeries that would make a soldier weep. He spent hours in agony just to wear the red and black one more time. Why? Because the loop we opened in 1981 wasn't closed yet. He owed the Nação a return to the throne. He chose the pain over the peace.
I want everyone watching this to stop for a second. Go to the comments right now and type the word God if you believe no one will ever surpass him. Tell us, did your father tell you about his miracles? Or were you lucky enough to see the white boots dancing on the green grass yourself? Your comment is the incense we burn at this altar of the Mais Querido e Brasil. We need to hear your testimony.
Notice how his gait changed after 85. He was slower, yes, but his eyes became sharper, like a hawk circling its prey. He moved less, but he saw more. He began to operate on a frequency that only the true members of the Nação can tune into. He was teaching us that even a god can suffer, and that makes his presence even more powerful. He wasn't just a player anymore. He was a monument in motion.
When he returned from Italy, he didn't come back as a star player. He came back as a father figure for the entire club. The Maracanã wasn't just a stadium when he stepped onto it. It was his living room, and we were all guests in his house of miracles. Imagine the silence of the crowd when he stood over a free kick in 1987. You could hear a pin drop because everyone knew what was coming. It was an inevitable law of the universe.
Remember the promise I made at the beginning? About the secret pact he made with the grass? It wasn't about winning trophies. Zico once confessed in a moment of deep reflection that he could hear the heartbeat of the stadium through the soles of his boots. He knew exactly when the Nação was about to erupt before the ball even left his foot. He wasn't predicting the future, he was commanding it. He had a psychological link to the earth of the Maracanã that allowed him to feel our collective anxiety and turn it into joy.
And that command came with a burden that would have broken anyone else. Think about the pressure of being the only source of hope for millions every single Sunday. Imagine the weight of those red and black stripes when the country was in crisis, and the only joy people had was seeing the number 10 glide across the pitch.
That is the burden of the Deus Supremo. He chose to carry the cross of our expectations so we could experience the resurrection of our pride. Every free kick was a microdose of dopamine delivered straight into the brains of the Nação Rubro-Negra. You see the ball curve, you see the keeper dive in vain, and for a split second, all the problems of your life vanish. That is the magic of the Mística do Manto. That is the power of the Mais Querido.
But there is a secret we haven't touched yet. The revelation that changes everything about how we see the end of his career. People think he retired because his knees finally gave out. They think time finally caught up to the king. They look at the stats and the dates and they draw a logical conclusion.
They are wrong. Time never caught Zico. He caught time and held it in his hands until he was finished with it. The revelation of this journey is this. Zico could have played at a high level for another 5 years if he had chosen to protect his body. He could have played a simpler game, avoided the contact, and preserved his health. But he didn't. He chose to burn his physical form to the ground to ensure that the Flamengo of the 80s would be immortal. He gave his cartilage, his ligaments, and his future mobility as a burnt offering so that the name of the Mais Querido would be feared across the globe.
He chose to become a mortal man who suffers so that the Nação could have an eternal God. He refused to be a distant legend living in a mansion. He wanted to be the hero who stayed until the last drop of sweat turned into blood on the fabric of the Manto Sagrado. He traded his ability to walk without pain in his old age for our ability to hold our heads high forever.
This is the climax of our story. The realization that we don't just love him for the goals or the trophies. We love him because he is the only God who never looked down on us from a balcony. He looked us in the eye from the pitch and said, "I am one of you, and I will suffer so you can celebrate." He transformed the pain of the physical into the glory of the spiritual.
That is the ultimate definition of the Flamengo global soul. It is a connection that transcends the 90 minutes of a match. It is a lineage of fire that started with the Garotos do Ninho and reached its zenith in his feet. You are not just a fan. You are a witness to a miracle that happened in our lifetime.
Now you have a choice to make. You can close this video and go back to being a common person who thinks football is just a game of 22 men chasing a ball. Or you can embrace the reality that you are part of a spiritual empire. If you understand the divinity of Zico, you must share this video with someone who needs to be converted to the truth of the Rubro-Negro. This is your mission as a member of the Nação.
Don't let the fire fade. Share this as a testimony of your faith. Subscribe if you haven't, because the rituals of the Nação are just beginning. This is our temple, and you are part of the congregation. We are the sovereign, and he is our king.
The throne is never empty because he is always there, watching over every game, every goal, and every tear shed for the Mais Querido. He is the Alpha and Omega of our history. He is the reason the Manto Sagrado has a soul.
SRN to all of you who carry the red and black in your heart of hearts. The world is ours, and we are just living in it.
Remember, we are not just a club. We are a belief system. And Zico is the proof that miracles are real. As long as you are wearing the Manto Sagrado and looking towards the Maracanã. Until the next manifestation of the divine, stay in the light of the greatest 10 to ever walk the earth. The King is alive in all of us.